tomorrow. I'll start working on the Doctor Who Christmas special video.
That should be a blast for you.
Oh, it was great. It was great. I got kidnapped by some people. I don't know who. I was blindfolded. I was put in the room.
Mm-hmm.
There was 2 televisions. They put them on simultaneously, 2 different screens, 2 different shows. And they said, all I heard was the voice just saying, watch. And then they came back in after I had seen the 2 shows, so watching them. And they asked me one question. They said, which one was Doctor Who and which one was Queer as Folk? And I said, I can't tell.
So it's that gay.
No. Do you know do you know how gay it is?
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah, that's the...
So it's that gay. Damn. That's rough, man.
I could not. I wouldn't be able to tell you the difference between the 2. I really couldn't. Apart from Queer as Folk, apparently is a little bit more sci-fi than Doctor Who now.
So Queer as Folk is less gay than Doctor Who, is what you're...
Well, I watched Queer as Folk back in the day. I watched an episode of Queer as Folk. There was what's he called from Game of Thrones? Lord Baelish. Lord Baelish was rimming some dude, and that was less gay than Doctor Who on Christmas Day.
That's rough. That's rough, man. And it's gay, but rough gay.
I think it's a great way to start off family entertainment on Christmas Day with a man just clearly not even bothering to disguise the fact they're a man in women's clothing. Stunning and brave.
It's very brave.
Putting him to shoot Gatwa in a singlet and a skirt, spinning around on the dance floor, dancing with a dude. And I thought, oh, quick, get the kids in. Get them sat down in front of the TV at 6 o'clock on a Christmas day. This is what we need.
Obviously, we talked about Doctor. I can't remember which episode that was. Might have been one of the first ones. Where we were talking about Doctor Who and the trajectory. We talked about Russell T Davies and all that stuff. And so, what was the viewership on this Christmas special?
This is 4.73 million, which is the lowest Christmas special by a country mile of all time.
Of all time.
Oh, and also the Doctor spent a summer fucking Houdini, apparently. The magic trick was he made his penis vanish up Houdini's bum.
So I have to ask you. It's probably a better question for maybe even Gary. But now that we have the new Doctor and he's actually the new Doctor, right? We're moving forward and you see it. Do you think that this whole thing is gonna play out to be worse than female Doctor Who?
I think from a rating standpoint, there's not another episode now until May, and if this is any indication to go by, because the viewership went up only 100,000 from the final special. Mm-hmm. Which indicated that there was no interest in the first Doctors. Well, this Doctor, whatever they are, they're not even the Doctor. They're a penis baby.
Oh yeah, what was the term they used? Was it intergenerational?
Bi-generation.
That's what it was. Bi-generation.
That subtle term. This is a bi-generation, but it's not really, though, is it? It's not. It's not really. It's just your little world that you can't get out of. That's what it is.
So you think ratings wise, for sure, it's gonna be worse than female Doctor Who? But
I think it'll go there. Yeah, I think as the first season for Gatwa goes on, I think the ratings will decline at a rapid rate of knots, particularly if they continue this direction, which they showed with this. I ain't gonna call it a Christmas special because there's no fucking special about it. The Christmas episode, we'll call it. And with a 5-month gap now, and already people aren't interested. See ya. No, nobody gives a fuck.
Do you think, like, from the cultural backlash, or even like, because obviously that stuff left a bad taste in everybody's mouth, or
so did Shoot Gatwa.
Literally, but As far as like, okay, the reaction like that people had with the female Doctor Who, and we knew that was like, hey, I guess for a lot of people that signified the absolute ruination of this brand, if you will. But I know it's hard to say, it's hard to predict because we kind of gotta let things play out. But do you think that just from a, like, again, the cultural backlash perspective, that it will be worse? Like, it will be like people will walk away. Let's say this: those that left or given up, and they don't take it as serious, whatever way you want to quantify it. But those that are still around, do you think that'll be like, all right, this is it? Like, this is no more. Kind of like what you've seen people do with like a Star Wars.
Doctor Who has always been perceived as a family show. There was stuff there for adults, there was stuff there for children. It was always meant to be a little bit scary for the kids. That's why the parents are there with them, hide behind the cushion time. But it's certainly always been focused on family, focused on the unit sitting down and watching. Inclusion is a word which is now malicious. It's a malicious word. It's an insidious word. It doesn't mean what it's perceived to mean, because inclusion automatically happens when things are made for a wide audience, that is including everyone. So inclusiveness now actually means our ideology. It doesn't mean inclusivity. It means our ideology. If something is inclusive, it means it's been perverted into our specific ideology. And therefore, you can't be inclusive if you are purposely excluding who the show was ultimately made for, which is families. So if you are wanting to put your messages onto the screen, and in this case of the Christmas special, blatant, obvious, pathetic, not even subtle, then you are purposefully trying to interfere with the family unit.
Okay.
You are purposely trying to say to everyone that families, because biologically families can't happen when you're pushing this sort of stuff.
True.
So you are purposely going out there and neglecting the family unit, neglecting who the show's made for, and that is reflected in the viewership. Even on Christmas Day, the 3 specials were a disaster in terms of ratings. They lost 1 million people throughout the course of the 3 specials over a 2-week period. So then you had to wait just 2 more weeks for the Christmas Day episode. So never mind the specials, Christmas Day, this is the time for people to sit down in front of the TV with their families. They've opened their presents. They've eaten their Christmas dinner. They're stuffed. They just want to vegetate now with something on the TV. And they still don't want to tune in. What does that tell you?
Damn.
Tells me no interest.
Not interested.
But why would there be? I say this question a lot. Why would there be an interest when it's clearly not aimed for them anymore? Why would there be an interest?
That's pretty obvious.
And to me,
the economics.
Well, yeah, it is basic economics. And never mind the fact that all the messaging and shite that they just shoved in, absolutely force fed. Because, like I said, it's not even subtle. It's not even done in a, using a metaphor or anything like that. When you've just rammed something in so blatantly and obviously, there's nowhere for it to go as a show. You've played your hand. You've shown everything, and so people go, all right, fine. It's not for me. So we'll go off and watch something else. So all this money that's been funneled into Doctor Who from Disney, from Sony, is now it's wasted. It's the lowest viewed Christmas special by a mile. By over 1 million, I think, something along those sort of lines. I don't think it's going to get a good 7-day consolidated either. And that's people watching through streaming services catching up on it. I don't think it's going to do particularly when in that, I don't think it's going to be lifted that much. I don't see it probably hitting anywhere past 6.5 million at best. And I think that's really pushing it. I'd probably think somewhere in the region of 6.2, 6.3 tops on the consolidated numbers, which are cheap numbers anyway. There you go.
I don't know. I think that for me, it's, obviously we've seen property to property to property go in a similar direction, right? Is it that the creatives have such contempt, maybe that's the proper term, for, I always wonder if it's a combination of both things. If it's contempt for the brand and if it's contempt for the actual general audience. And what I mean by that, it's like, I do believe there is some purposeful things when you see something go and then it becomes something that it never was, right? And I'm not saying that in terms of like growth in a narrative storyline, change of pace. That's not what I'm referring to. I'm meaning that it becomes antithetical to what it was. Like and sometimes it happens very quickly. So I wonder again, is it the creatives have the contempt for, like, we mentioned families with this? Is that where a lot of this stuff stems from? It's like, this is our way of getting at you. Or is it one of those, hey, this thing is liked by these types of people and I don't like them, but they like this, and therefore this is our way to change it? Because it almost feels like every action is an attempt to what they deem as like this sort of course correction. And a great example of this, probably as obvious of an example of this, is the chick was Rachel Zegler, with how she was initially talking about Snow White, right? And how she'd be like, hey, those old stories, or the story, right, is weird, and the core aspects of it is a problem. And it's like, if it comes off as if, okay, so you don't actually like this shit, number one, but also it's that you take exception to how people view it, right? And I guess maybe in turn the people that actually view it. So I always wonder with this type of stuff, and whether it be in the writing room or the producers that are part of this project, is it like as blatant? Is it like, hey, everybody's on the same page, or is it as blatant as it sounds like so nefarious and almost like it's like something you would see out of a comic book or a TV show, where people sitting around table like, fuck these guys, man, and we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it to get at them. Like
the Zegler thing's a good example, right? Because Zegler was talking about Snow White. Well, it's creepy. This guy's like sort of like being creepy, weird, and that can only come from being preached at by somebody else. So that's come from most likely within the company, and how they perceive the old stuff. The stuff which made the company and has been successful for decades upon decades upon decades
before she was even thought about being alive.
Yeah, because thematically, it's meant to be romantic, and all that sort of business, and they have to do it in a very quick and contrived manner because they have limited time. And therefore things come across in movies as romantic, which in reality, yes, might be a little bit weirder. But you have a very limited time to operate off. Therefore, you have to expedite things very quickly indeed. But it's what was really telling about the Zegler Snow White business was the fact that she was being told intersectionality. That's what she's being rammed with. She's been rammed with women don't need men. Women need to be their own bosses. Women need to go out and get into middle management. They don't need to settle down, find love, have families. And of course, it's the feminism is a lie bit, because by time the woman's biological clock ticks, or by time she says, oh, it wouldn't be bad to have a man in my life now that I've succeeded all my goals. I have got myself into middle management. I've got myself into this position. I earn this amount. I have this mortgage or this house available. Now I shall add the man to my role, and he's not interested anymore because you're off the table. He's looking for somebody who he could settle down with, have a family with, etc. For the most part. Always, obviously, exceptions. So they're getting taught, they're getting ran this ideology at every turn into them, and that's what you get. You get little Rachel Zegler's running around, and they don't know their ass from their elbow because she has no life experience. She doesn't have a life experience. She has, she gets put makeup on and put into dresses and put in front of a camera, and everyone says yes to her all day, and then she gets paid a good amount of money, and then a management team tell her how great she is. And she never actually experiences anything. She gets so sheltered and within her own bubble. And then she goes to meetings where people with the same ideas say the same things to her and tell her the same things, which she then goes off and tells other people.
Yeah,
that's what they get. That's what they get. We've said this many times, but the diversity of thought is never there anymore because the ideology is taken over all of these companies. And it's the same with Russell T Davies. Everyone knew Russell T Davies was gay in 2005 when he took over Doctor Who. He'd done Queer as Folk, he'd done all that stuff. He was openly gay, but he made a great show. He made a great Doctor Who show, and people loved it because it was made for families. It was made for fans of Doctor Who. It was made for those people. It was made for its target audience. And then he did 4 or 5 great years. Hits and misses with some episodes. It's always going to happen, of course. But for the most part, really cemented Doctor Who back as a major player. Made it big in America with his choice of Doctor and David Tennant. Everything was going correct because it was going to the correct audience. They made the Doctor younger. They made him more energetic, more exciting, more handsome. Something that not just guys could get involved in the fantasy, but also girls could get involved in the fantasy too. They could pretend that they were the companion. They could put themselves in the position of the companion, being whisked away by this mysterious man to unknown places and adventures. Very exciting, very dangerous. Women could live out their power fantasies just as men could live out their power fantasies. So absolutely set for a target audience. And now we've got a guy in a dress pretending to be a woman, which is ridiculous. Followed by gay bar Shooty Gatwa. Followed by I spent a hot summer with Houdini. It's like, who's this for?
That's a good question.
It's for you. It's for you and your gay buddy. That's who it's for. Because it's certainly not for the family unit, and it's certainly not for children, and it's certainly not for the Doctor Who fans, because it's not even Doctor Who anymore. It's not even a sci-fi show anymore. That was the big thing for me, is that watching the Christmas show didn't even feel like Doctor Who, because Shooty didn't feel like a doctor. The show didn't feel like a Doctor Who episode. It felt like an episode of a show, some show. What type of show? Not quite sure. But in terms of the characters, they were they didn't feel like they belonged. They felt like a TV show. They didn't feel like a real character. The companion didn't feel like a real character. She didn't act like a real person. The Doctor didn't act like a real person.
Right.
So who is this for? Who are you trying to appeal to?
That's the key question, and I think that's the theme. Box ticking, some sort of a message. It was about creating things for maybe your peers. Everything but giving the people what it is that they want. I think that's why a lot of this dumb shit that we're seeing in property to property to property. And it's not just, again, the social political stuff. That's part of it. And maybe a lot of these cats lead with it. But to have a fundamental misunderstanding, and maybe it's not even that. Maybe it's not a misunderstanding. Maybe it's they know it. They're just purposely trying to make it something that it is not. Right. So it's a little more, again, direct, a little more nefarious, evil, if you will, than just ignorance, pure ignorance. Because at least with pure ignorance, you can say, even though that's not, that's for the producers and everybody to put people in positions to succeed. Right. You don't go get someone that has no idea what the fuck they're doing to go fill the job. But it's even more, of a bastardization when you have, like in this case, we talked about with Doctor Who. Russell T Davies has done Doctor Who.
Yeah. That's the thing. He's got a body of work to literally do a direct comparison against.
Yes. And then it changed, right? It switched and it became about something else. Mm-hmm. So I think that speaks to the cultural shift, man, in that a lot of these cats are compromised. But I hate to say it, and I know some people are a little less apathetic than I am about this, the current state of modern media. But if they have not got to your property, it does feel like you start to get the feeling like they're going to get there. They're going to get there. It's only a matter of fucking time.
Yeah, Doctor Who hasn't changed. Characters don't change. Batman hasn't changed. It's the people around them that change. Now, bringing in new people to bring on new ideas is great. Keeps things fresh. But the whole aspect is to keep the character as the character is. That's got to be the common denominator. The character has got to still act as that character has acted for however many years.
Yes.
That when you see that character, whether it be Doctor Who, whether it be Batman, whether it be Yara, upcoming, whether it be whoever it may be, that character has got to behave in a manner that you can pick up a book, read it, and still see that character there, fundamentally see that character. When your writer comes in and says, I think Tim Drake needs to suck a dick, then you have fundamentally destroyed, annihilated the character.
Alpha Core #1's pre-order is live. Written by the legendary Chuck Dixon and penciled by Joe Bennett. Visit Rippaverse.com to grab a copy and any of the merchandise items. Be sure to also check out the animated trailer for the campaign, which is the latest project from Rippaverse Studios. Y'all be easy.